Today, we're going to talk about the current real estate market, how to be resilient and show persistence in this challenging marketplace. We're also going to bring on a guest that's going to talk about what you need to expect when you're buying or selling real estate. We're going to touch a little bit on the rising interest rate environment, and then also, what's the market opportunity and is it a good time to purchase a home currently? So thanks again for joining and welcome to this week's edition of Your Mortgage Process. I'm your host, Greg Wareham. So I'd like to introduce today's guest, Mr. Louis DeMeo. Louis, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
And I know that you've been doing it a long time. You had a lot of success in real estate.
Yep.
And, as we were kind of talking a little bit before the show, one of the big components of being a successful real estate agent is understanding the consumer and setting those client expectations, right?
Absolutely. That's very important.
So if I'm someone that's looking to buy a house, what do you think are some of the expectations that I should have with a real estate agent that I'm working with?
So buying a house to me is one of the most important things you need to really look at your agent, right? So looking for an agent that is extremely transparent with you, that's going to have, you both are going to have trust with each other.
Sure.
Because think about it, it's one of the largest purchases you'll ever make in your adult life, right?
Yeah.
So you need to have the confidence in them and they need to have the confidence in you. Because it's a two-way street,
Yeah, no doubt. Like, so I'm a consumer, again, I'm looking to buy a house. Like, how do you instill that in me? Or, what should I be looking for as the consumer?
So, big thing is looking at their track record, right? That's really important.
Right.
I don't want to downplay agents that have just got their license, right? That are just starting out in the industry because honestly, there's some really, really good ones that are starting out.
Sure.
There's some people that joined our team that are killing it right now. They're brand new, they're ambitious, they have all the energy, and they're really excited in this challenging market.
Sure.
So that says a lot. But you really want to look for an agent that is really going to sit there and put you first.
Sure.
Right? Because you don't realize that an agent has the transaction in their hands and they can lose that. And you could potentially lose a dream home if the agent isn't following up with the proper protocols or being aggressive, because you need to be aggressive.
Yeah, and we were talking about that before we came on camera about how persistence has become it's a vital characteristic right now.
Very vital.
Because you got to make sure these things are going in a very smooth fashion. Your point, you're following up at the right time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's important because, a perfect example, we had a colleague on another team, and she was like, brand new. She just started out. She's like, Louis, she's like, I showed this house twice, and the offer, they already accepted an offer days ago, but I was texting them, and they weren't getting back to me, and, my client's all upset, and she was really upset about it. Right. And I gave her some really good advice, and I says, I'm going to be very honest with you, but you're doing a good job, but you have to be very aggressive, but professionally, right? Because you always want to be professional because you never know when you're going to work with that agent again, or when they're going to need you. So it's a small world. Even though there's a lot of agents, it is a small world. So you always got to be respectful in that aspect.
You know what, too? I'm thinking, this market's so convoluted right now. So we know that we have limited inventory right now. We know that interest rates have been this rising interest rate environment. How do you think from a consumer standpoint they're able to manage their patience level with everything? Or how can an agent help with that, the right agent?
So it's all, again, confidence goes a long way.
Right.
I was just with a buyer just recently, and I was sitting down with them, and they were, they were with another agent before, and they were brought to me, and they were at a point where they were just ready to just give up, and they were like, should we be buying? Should we just be renting? And they were just losing offer after offer, and I looked at the whole picture, and I believe that they weren't represented properly.
Right.
Right. And it's also the agent has to be in good, have to have good energy and have to take care of themselves, right?
Sure.
I have to make sure that I'm taking care of myself because that's really important because that's going to pave the way for my success.
Sure.
Because if the agent's not good, then guess what? My clients aren't going to be good.
Right.
And that's really important. Looking at for that example, just kind of telling them, it's going to be okay, and we're in this together. And I approach every real estate transaction like it's my own.
Right.
And it's a journey we take together. And I also make sure that I don't overload my buyers.
Sure.
I keep my buyer pool small so I know I'm giving that undivided attention to my clients at all
You know what?
times.
That's a really great point because I think that knee-jerk reaction for some people is, I need all the customers that I
Yeah.
can get. I need all the
Yeah.
people going to buy or sell. But at the end of the day, if you do that, how can you possibly service all those people?
Absolutely. And that's a great, great example because, during COVID, there was a lot of, agents that got their license, brand new agents, and they were bombarded by clients. And again, yeah, they were successful because of the high inventory then. Everyone was selling and there was tons of buyers. But, and even me at one point, I had way too many buyers at one point. And I stepped back and I had to check myself in a way, in a good way. I said, it's not about the money.
Right.
It's about the customer, the client, and the realtor experience together.
Yeah.
Right. And I had to sit there and say, you know what? I realized I'm going to make sure my client pool is less, that we're focused so I can have more of that personal attention because you're not going to be successful if you overload yourself. You're not. There's no way.
And it can never be about the money. And you
No.
see a lot of people come into our industry, whether it's real estate or in my world, the mortgage industry, and they come in it for the allure of money. And at the end of the day, if you're someone who's coming into an industry, any industry,
Yeah.
and it's all about the money, it's just a bad fit.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's about the people. It's about the consumer. And it's about leading them down the path that they've enjoyed the experience, especially when it's the biggest purchase of your life.
Oh, yeah.
From a mortgage standpoint, it's the most debt you're ever going to take on your life statistically.
Yep.
You just have to make sure that you're partnered with the right people that are kind of hand-holding you in a lot of ways through the process. And more than anything else, make sure you're educating them and they understand the process of what's going on.
I couldn't agree more. And that's why it's really important to surround your clients with people that are that know the industry, that are educated on the lending aspect, the title, having a good attorney for them, because all of that is going to help the transaction and it's going to communicate all the information that they need to, have a successful transaction.
Now, how do you feel about the sales side? So now I'm someone looking to sell a property. Hey, if you're selling a house right now, you can basically get any price that you want from the house. My house is going to sell in 48 hours. Everything's going to be tremendous and fantastic. But what's the reality?
So the market's shifted.
Yeah.
Right. The interest rates are still high. The houses are selling. We are still seeing right now best and final, but houses aren't going so quickly as they were during even, 6 months ago.
Sure.
Right. And the listing aspect is, we're seeing the best and final. And with that being said, I don't think that is benefiting their client, the listing client.
And do me a favor, for the consumers that could be out there listening, explain what best and final is.
The best and final is something that was kind of made up during COVID. With me being in the industry a long time, that never existed prior.
Okay.
So best and final, I believe, was kind of invented by, the rush of realtors getting their license during COVID. And what it was is it gave them a time frame saying Monday by 5 p.m. all offers must be in.
Okay.
If they're not in, then snooze you lose.
Right.
So there were so many disadvantages to that, right? And with that being said, my theory is if I was a listing agent and I have offers and I would present all of those offers to my client and try to work with everything on paper.
Sure.
And you would have these agents that are, oh no, if it's not in, you're not gonna, That's
You
it.
know what? When you say best and final, what I think about is the velvet rope, right? All of a
Yeah.
sudden, they put the velvet rope in front of it to kind of almost create more demand for it,
Oh yeah.
right? Oh, no, you can't get in. You can only get in if you give me an
Yeah.
offer that's your highest possible offer
Yeah.
by 5 o'clock on Monday.
Oh yeah. And
And it just puts a lot of pressure on people.
tons of pressure, and our clients felt that. I've had a perfect example as well. As I had a client that was, we went in, it was best and final, and then my client's like, this is the max I'll pay for the house. So we submitted the offer, and then we waited, and then they slept on it, and then they said, you know what, you know we're getting a gift. We're getting more. We're going to get a gift, and our parents are going to give us more money because they know we really want this house.
Right.
But then I approached that to the listing agent, but it's too late.
Yeah.
So it just didn't work, and I feel like it's a disadvantage to the client on the listing side because you could have worked all those other offers
Sure.
and maybe got a lot more than what was presented.
That's a fantastic point.
Yeah.
Because where's the negotiation with that, right?
None.
And when I look at the role of a real estate agent, part of that is the negotiation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big part of it. We're not
yeah.
just opening doors for people to go look at a house or putting something on the MLS. There's a lot of skill associated with the negotiation piece. And to your point with best and final, well, where's the negotiation end of it?
None.
Right? So if
Yeah.
I have 10 different offers, well, there should be that individualized consideration because you have a fiduciary responsibility to
Yeah.
the seller
Yeah.
to be able to negotiate that back and forth to try to get them the highest price for the
Of
property.
course, of course. And back in the day when I first got my license, that's what we did.
Yeah.
And that was the best part of my job is going back and forth with the agent and okay, we'll go up 5,000 and they would come back and okay, 25, that was the excitement of the job.
Sure.
Because your job as a buyer's agent was to get the house at the best price possible for your client, right? And then if you're the listing agent, get the most money for your client, right? But it was it was so professionally done back then.
Right.
And then, we all know COVID and, the crazy market happened and it kind of ruined the way we did real estate.
Now, do you think that's a product of supply and demand or a lot of new people coming into the business? Combination of both?
Combination of both.
Yeah.
I definitely think that a lot of the new people coming into the business, I think they weren't properly trained. Listen, we all went to real estate school and we took the test but there was nothing in that real estate course that talked about how to present offers, how to have humanity in this industry. There was none of that. It was just a test, a school test, and then a state test. But it also, I believe, reflects on what company you put your license with. I'm a firm believer in, especially Keller Williams that I'm with in Central Monmouth. Our training is unbelievable what they do for our agents to sit there and make the agents successful on both sides.
Sure, yeah, they're
Listing and buying.
fantastic, amazing company.
Amazing.
It's, as you talk about the humanity end of it, it's, there's no real forum for the consumer, aside from a forum like this that hopefully people gain information from, to be able to understand the process, what's going on in the industry, to understand all the different facets. So if I'm a consumer, I can't call 1-800-MORTGAGE or 1-800-REAL-ESTATE and get a non-biased, objective opinion as to what's going on with their transaction or how they should move forward.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We need to create that.
We do. And this is a start. This is a start because on the lending side, if you try to get any lending information, think about it. The client goes online and puts in their information and they're automatically presented with sales. They're trying to, reel them in when trying to get them as a client, but there's no humanity. There's no real honest, discussion about the lending or even looking for a good licensed realtor.
That's such a great point where it really becomes sales oriented, to your point, Louis. And really, because it's the biggest purchase again, the biggest amount of debt you're probably ever going to take on, there really needs to be an educational forum.
Yeah.
So you understand the choices that you're making.
Correct.
And really, that's our job. Mortgage, real estate, for people who've been doing it for a long period of time. It's how do we better educate the consumer so they understand the process and make sure that they're working with the right people to give them the best fit for it. So I just want to come back to the seller end of it for a second. So I'm looking to sell a property. Now, are the ugly houses selling still?
They are.
Okay.
They are. They might sit on the market for a couple more weeks, but they are selling. You know.
So all right. So we still have the houses are still selling once they go on the market. Do you feel that it's important for people to prepare their home to be sold?
And that's a really good question. Is during COVID, it was just put a sign on the front and you're gonna have a line around the block. But it shifted, right? So now I just went on a listing appointment and it was we need to make some modifications, right? We need to fix some things because again, we are gonna have a buyer 8% interest rate, whatever the interest rates are, 7%. They are going to be a little more, picky with what they're looking for.
Sure.
So yes, the modifications I think are important.
So do you recommend some type of a checklist for people, or is it really case by case when you go into the property, Louis?
So, there's a case by case basis.
Would you be kind enough to give everyone out there 3 bullet points? Like what are 3 things that you really need to make sure are done to the house?
So important is definitely the basement,
Yeah.
right? We always assess the basement because the basement is the foundation of the house, right? It's the bones of the property, I always say. So we always assess, water, any structural issues, that's important to address. Also kitchen, any kitchen repairs, because that's a huge thing people are looking for is,
Sure.
Kitchen and any repairs that need to be made. Functional kitchen. And bathrooms are important, leaky toilets. And I can't tell you multiple times where I'm putting on gloves prior to, taking pictures of a house and I'm cleaning the house myself because I want to make sure that it is, looks good.
Well, you know what, to Lewis's point, if there was going to be 3 things that you really got to look at, you look at the basement, the foundation issues, if there's any type of water issue. In addition to that, you got to make sure that the kitchen looks great, right? People spend a lot of time in their kitchen.
Absolutely. Yep.
And then bathrooms, just make sure they're super clean, right? You want to go in and walk in and be like, I can see myself in here, taking a shower, getting ready for work and doing those things.
Yep.
So, that's a nugget for everybody. I really want you to take that one
it's important.
So, Louis, we're going to go to a quick break.
Great.
And then we're going to come back and we're going to talk about a little bit more of the customer experience. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the market in the form of interest rate and things like that. So, everyone, just stay tuned for a couple of minutes. We're going to go to a quick commercial and we'll be back with Louis DeMeo, Greg Wareham, 1 minute. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Greg Wareham, Louis DeMeo. So, Louis, we were talking a little bit during the commercial break, again, about the customer experience. And I come from the cloth of you have to be doing some type of buyer and seller consultation in this marketplace because it is unusually challenging.
Yep.
What's your process for that?
Yeah, so I do things a little different, and it's been very successful for me. I like to take the real estate out of it, and people think I'm crazy for doing that, but I want to get to know them on a personal level, and I want them to get to know me on a personal level because it's a trust, and we need to see if we're going to be a good fit for each other. It's a business relationship at the end. But I like to do client dinners, and my people love it.
I could see that, though. I mean, you have a great personality and you're very knowledgeable in what you do. All right, so you go out to a dinner. So now, does most of your business come from referrals?
They do.
Okay.
Because I started this thing, and then it just started referring and kind of building that way.
All right, so now I'm calling you and I'm looking to purchase a home.
Yeah.
At that time you kind of set up a dinner to go out with them and get to meet them?
Yeah. First thing I ask them is, what type of food do you like? And they said they're kind of surprised. I'm like, well, I want to take you to dinner and let's talk.
Yeah.
And, so we normally go pick a restaurant that they like and we sit down and we enjoy a nice dinner. And I do not talk about real estate for probably majority of the dinner.
Yeah.
I want to know them because while I'm talking to them at that dinner, I'm picking up key information. Do they have kids? Do they have pets?
Sure.
Are they looking for, I'm picking it all up and I'm processing it all.
And the most important part about that is you're getting to know them. You're getting to know them on a personal level. In purchasing a home, it's a very intimate process.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, where you're going to sleep, where you're going to shower, where you're going to make the lunches in the morning, or your lunch in the morning. I mean, it's a very intimate process. So you need to understand their entire dynamic.
Of course.
to make sure as you're looking at different homes, it's the right property for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It's a lot of responsibility, and you have to make sure that you're prepared for it.
sure.
And I think, every day you doing your homework, your checklist, as, in my head, I'm always checking off like, okay, did I do this? Do I do this? Setting myself reminders because it is a lot of responsibility on an agent.
So I know most of your clients that you work with are referred to you personally.
Yeah.
So from a consumer standpoint, for people out there right now watching, how should they go about finding the right real estate agent for them?
So it's a good question. And it's best response I could tell you is do your research. A lot of people tend to go on the big companies' websites and they, fill out a form looking for an agent. And what that does is it puts them in a pool of a lot of people. Most of them are newer agents, not experienced. And that's what they get represented with. And that's what they get teamed up with. And sometimes when that happens, they are looking for other agents or they're shopping around and,
Louis, you see the same thing on the mortgage end,
yeah,
right? I mean, if you're calling an 800 number for a mortgage when you're looking to borrow $500,000,
yeah,
there's no relationship there. It's completely transactional.
yeah.
And you and I both know that the process of purchasing a home, selling a home, getting a mortgage, I mean, there's a lot of different moving parts. And you need a certain level of concierge service to make it a pleasant experience.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Anyone can do our jobs and give terrible customer service. But, this is really, it's about the experience. You want the white glove treatment so you feel good about everything that's going on. It shouldn't be this mad dash and you feel pressure and you feel like you're trying to figure things out as you're going. You need a mentor, you need a coach through the process to really lead you down that path.
I couldn't agree more. And it's on both ends.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's a business relationship, but it's also trust, and you both got to be transparent with each other. Because when I'm sitting down at that client dinner, I'm also looking at, is this not putting the money, not thinking about money, right? I'm seeing if this is going to work for me as well.
Yeah.
Right? Because if I'm not feeling the energy and if I feel like something's off, then I will respectfully decline representing them. I will give them recommendations on other people, but I'm very selective on making sure that the energy and that we're both going to be a good fit for each other.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, it's a very personal experience.
Absolutely it is. Yep.
Right? And you have to be a great match.
Yeah.
And that's great advice for everyone out there that Louis just gave. You got to make sure that's a match on both ends, right? Because again, I mean, it's supposed to be a great time in your life. You purchase a home, you're stepping up as a buyer, you're getting your final home in a retirement community. So many different moving parts. You need to understand the person.
Yeah.
Make sure you're doing the right thing by them.
And so many, and not to cut you off, but so many agents, they see the money, they see the numbers, and they see, oh, I have 5 buyers, and I'm going to get more. There's not enough time in a day to do all of that. And a good agent knows how much time that they have and manages their personal life because you have to take care of yourself. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to take care of your clients, point blank. Right. And that's really important. So you got to put the money on the back burner. Money is great. We all love it. But we have to, humanity goes a long way and respect for your clients.
Yeah, we talked about humanity a few times today, and I couldn't agree with you more. I'm cut from the cloth of you do right by people, and people will do right by you.
Yeah.
Everything falls into place.
And money will follow.
Yeah, money follows the path of doing the right thing.
Yeah.
You kind of invert that thing, it's a disaster. It's a short-term plan to a long-term problem or solution, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to shift gears a little bit, Louis, and talk about the current interest rate market and how that's impacting the people that you're speaking to. So we all know that interest rates have went up over the course of the past year and a half. Do you find that changing buyer or seller's behavior?
Yes, it's affecting everything, honestly. We are noticing that the sellers aren't getting a lot more money over asking, right? We notice that the buyer pool is being a little more selective on requests that they're looking for on a house or a property. But there's still buyers out there. And, we're sitting down now to talk about don't be afraid to buy, right? And on the lending side is, and then the question I get all the time, is it a good time to buy? That's
Yeah,
the
all the
magic
time.
question that we're
Yeah.
getting. And my answer is yes, I think it is a great time to
Yeah.
buy because, we all don't know, we don't have a magic ball and know where the market's going to go, but we do kind of know that we don't believe house prices are going to drop.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. When you look at whether or not it's a good time to buy, I'm an analytical by nature. And as a result of that, I look at things analytically, right?
Yeah, of course.
So, is it a good time to buy? Well, let's look at the facts. If we're waiting for interest rates to drop or prices to drop, that's probably not going to happen anytime soon.
Yeah.
And let's just say if we're waiting for interest rates to drop and interest rates drop and they go to 4% tomorrow, 5% tomorrow, all that's going to happen is the buyer pool is going to grow exponentially. I read a great article by Barbara Cochran who said if interest rates do drop, that you're probably going to see values go up by about 15%.
Wow.
And so we wait for interest rates or we wait for values to come down. I mean, there's limited inventory. Building new homes is at its lowest level since like the 1960s when you look at the past decade. So there's not enough inventory. There's not enough homes hitting the market. So, short of some sort of massive recession going on or something that we can't really foresee, I see we continued high rates, continue, and I say high loosely, right?
Yeah.
When you look at them on a 50-year average, they're actually a little bit under that. So,
Because when my parents bought, I think, 14, 15%? Yes, granted, home prices were a lot lower,
yeah.
but also groceries and everything else was a lot lower and
You know what's
different
really
time.
interesting about that, though, Louis? When you look at the affordability index during that time, so when interest rates had spiked in like 1981 or 82, the percentage of your monthly income that was going in as compared to how much your mortgage payment was about 48%, which is
Wow.
really high. When you look at where things are at today, it's at about 29%. So from an affordability standpoint, people forget you make more money today.
Yeah.
And we're making more money today
Ultimately,
than we
we
were
do,
back
of course,
then, right? When you look at it big picture, I don't know. I mean, I don't really think that I'm a cut from the same cloth where I believe that now's always the right time to buy. We know that we know that real estate is going to traditionally appreciate at 4% per year, 4.5% per year. And we know that rent's going to appreciate at 6+% per year.
Check my next topic, rent.
Right?
Let's break down rent and how expensive rent is.
Yeah. I mean, you see it because you've helped customers that are looking to rent as well. I mean, how much have you seen things go up over the course of the past 5 years?
Almost, to me, 50% on some units that I'm showing.
That's insane.
New Jersey rentals are at the utmost high right now.
Right.
And it's, if you really break it down to them, and a perfect example is it a good time to buy? Well, let's see what your renting price is, right? And if you're throwing out, I had one client almost $75,000 a year in rent.
Wow.
Right, for a one bedroom with a loft. That's a lot of money.
Sure.
And that money could be investing in real estate that ultimately, after a certain period of time, is only going to make you money, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the stat is the median rental in New Jersey for one bedroom right now is somewhere about $2,800 a month. It's a big number.
It's a lot.
It's a big number, and it's not going to go down. There's no rent control in the state of New Jersey.
No.
Some municipalities will have some things in place, but the state of New Jersey doesn't have any laws on rent control.
Nope. And those towns that do have, certain percentage of units that are rent controlled, the application process, I had a client filled one out. The application process is years on waiting to get into one of those reduced housing.
And it's harder to qualify to rent a property than it is to purchase a property right now. How crazy is that?
Very crazy, because there's so much demand that now the buildings, developers, the rental units, they're being picky on credit scores, your background checks. So I've had clients that have having a hard time to find a rental,
right?
Because of the demand.
And again, I don't see that changing anytime soon. So, is it a good time to buy? Yes, it's a good time to buy. It always is. Yeah. And there's a reason why hedge funds are purchasing real estate.
That should tell you something. That's just a big sign.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, these are people a lot smarter than I am.
Yeah.
Right, and they're They're purchasing property because you get the long-term appreciation of the value of the home, plus you get the annuity of the rental income coming in as well. It's a great investment. It's a great investment for a hedge fund, should be a great investment for a consumer. And get in before they buy too many of them.
Absolutely. That's
Right?
what us...
How scary is that?
It's really scary, and bring it back to the point, get a really good real estate agent to get you something before it gets even worse, and helps you through the process.
So, Louis, I have one final question for you. We talked about how difficult it is for people to buy and sell and different things like that and picking the right real estate agent. Why would someone reach out to you? What could you do for them?
Patience. I care ultimately for my clients. My clients are my world, right? And persistence, especially in this challenging market. It's a really, really good experience to have a client that respects you and you respect them and you're on that journey together. Because it's ultimately, it's a journey, and we're a part of each other's lives for that journey together.
And maybe even longer, because a lot of clients become friends.
I have a lot of friends from this. And,
I can see that with you, Louis.
We have, and I hold these events at these parties where I invite all my clients, and it's a really good experience. And it makes me feel good because I'm helping people out. And that's what it all ultimately comes down to.
That's fantastic, Louis. Listen, I know you're really busy.
Thank you.
Serving your buyers and your sellers. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you for having me.
So just a quick recap for everyone of what we talked about today. One was, what's the customer experience look like when you're looking to buy and sell a home? In addition to that, it's how do you persevere in a very tough market that we have? We know that we have demand right now for housing very high, inventory can be low. Some of the effects of higher or rising interest rates, and then whether or not it's a good time to buy or sell a home. So I hope that you enjoyed what we were talking about today, and we look forward to catching up with you next week. Bye, guys. Thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of Your Mortgage Process, hosted by Greg Wareham, produced by Greg Wareham and Nick Pavis at The Social Rift, and executively produced by The Social Rift. Thank you again for tuning in, and we look forward to catching up with you next week.